Hey, deserving listeners, it's time to watch 90 Day Fiancé Bears All. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. As I always say, don't use YouTube as a replacement for therapy. If you need a therapist, get one. You deserve it. Let's watch.
No, everybody want to live better life in this life, but that was not the plan.
Yeah, better life. I've done good for myself. I built a house, my mom, I got a car. What the hell?
No, listen,
Everybody
Angela.
wants to live.
No.
Now you listen.
It's
You're
from
full
Kanye.
of shit. You're a scammer. That's why Nigerians get bad names.
Interesting. So on Bears All, they have Angela and Usman. Sean is pronouncing it Usman, and I feel like we've heard Usman before. I guess I'll go with Usman because I trust Sean. And we haven't seen Usman in a while. And Angela is confronting Usman. And Angela's saying, you're a scammer. You were only in it for the money. You weren't in it for the relationship with Lisa. And is that possible? Yeah, it could be possible. Did Usman have genuine feelings for Lisa? It seemed that way, similar to Angela and Michael having seemingly genuine feelings for each other. And Usman said this, I don't know if I include it. He's like, look, everyone is trying to make a better life for themselves. The fact that I'm interested in making a better life for myself doesn't eliminate also the possibility that I was genuinely in love or in like with Lisa. So do I believe that Usman was genuinely in love with Lisa? Yeah, if I remember right, when Lisa landed in Nigeria, he seemed to, they had a lot of physical affection that seemed very natural and unencumbered, if you will. And that doesn't necessarily mean that he's in love with her. But, you see like Muhammad and Danielle, and we don't know what's in Muhammad's heart, but that's a contrast to the vibe, I'll say, that we have witnessed between Usman and Lisa. Usman? So anyway, but Angela is going off on him right now.
That make it hard for people that's real in relationships. And we're still together because we really love each other, and we're sitting here apart because people like him make it hard on the Nigerians that are real.
Okay, I hadn't thought about that. At the very least, for Angela, she's saying, look, it's really hard to get a visa for Michael because of people scamming. And what Angela is saying is that a lot of scammers come from Nigeria. I don't know the stats on that. Certainly that is the story that people are saying. And, I'll grant Angela that. Is Usman to blame for that? Was he a scammer? I would guess not, but who knows, right? I mean, it was interesting what happened in the end, right, between Lisa and Usman was during the tell-all, he was still in Nigeria and Lisa was in the States. They were still married, and Usman was talking about getting married to other women. So I think that's the last time we heard from them, which would have been maybe a year ago-ish. So I wonder, or longer, right? I wonder if Usman and Lisa are still together. I don't know.
All right, Usman, what do you think about that?
For me, I feel so bad for her to call me scammer without no evidence.
You're a piece of shit.
You can do that to someone
You've
else.
been a
I can
piece of
take
shit.
that.
You sound like shit when.
So reasoning with Angela, we all understand, is an impossible task. And if I was Usman, I'd just be like, well, we're just going to have to agree to disagree on that one. But yeah, Usman's saying, you don't have any evidence, which is probably true. You're just making stuff up. It's possible, but where's the evidence? And I'll often have that question when I'm working with my students who are, novice therapists, and they'll make these claims, and I'll be like, show me your evidence, show your work. Because it's common for humans to just make these judgment calls. That person's narcissistic. And then when you ask, like, okay, that's great. You've made a claim. You've, stuck your flag in the ground, and you've now proclaimed this person is narcissistic. Where's your evidence? Now, lay people can say whatever they want, I guess. But clinicians need to back it up with clinical data. And being able to do that is important, not only to show your professors that you know what you're doing, but also in your head. You have to know the difference between just having a hunch as opposed to a well evidenced conceptualization. So that's what Usman is asking Angela. It's like, where's your evidence? And I'm guessing if Angela were to stop screaming and bullying the way that she typically does, to think about what the evidence was, what would it be? I guess pieces of evidence she could identify would be, well, are you with Lisa now after you've become successful in music? And I think the answer is no, they're not together. And so it's like, so if you were really in love with Lisa, wouldn't you still be with her? What, you know, wouldn't, or the fact that you're not still with her is a possible, you know, data point pointing at that you were never really into it. Another data point would be that, what? I don't know. What else could you say other than just, you didn't look like, I mean, the thing that we did see with Usman and Lisa is Usman put up with a lot, and he would frequently come back to her and say, okay, you know, can we work on this? And so I think, anyway, maybe there's other data, but I can't remember it.
You sing, you auto-tune. When you sing
Angela.
without auto-tune, you
So she's accusing him of auto-tuning. A lot of people auto-tune, even people that you wouldn't think use auto-tune. And it's just a common thing. I don't like it. I don't know if I always detect it, but when I do hear it, it really grates on my ears. It's like a robot singing, you know, and then you have people like, you know, certain individuals that will actually play up the auto-tune. They're actually doing it on purpose to make it sound. I will say that the microphone is pointed the wrong way. So this is the microphone that I use right here. And if you can see, the element is this way. And it's sort of an unintuitive, so if I was to point the microphone toward me, it would be like this, right? And, you know, into the, to people that don't know microphones, it looks like it's going into the side, you know, like sometimes you'll see people pointing the top of the microphone, which on some microphones is the way you're supposed to do it. But most microphones that are like this, which are the majority of professional microphones, it's all side. He actually has it pointed like this. So he's speaking into the side. Now, some microphones are configured such that you can, it's omnidirectional, but as a audio person, that's bothering me. I want to turn it 45 or 90 degrees so that it's actually facing him. Is that interesting to people? Probably not, but it is a reaction. And by the way, if you're interested in what kind of microphone this is, it's an Audio Technica 4033A. I've been using this microphone for 24 years.
he sounds like shit.
You don't have to talk that rubbish
For
to me.
everything
You don't say that
that's
rubbish to
going
me.
on. You might
This is
fool
the reason why.
the
Listen,
world,
listen.
but you
This
know
is the
what?
reason why you
can't fool
always
God.
fall, because like you
can't
think you
fool
know,
God.
and you don't know nothing.
You will not fool God.
You don't
now
know
put
nothing.
That
You're
in
not
your
nothing.
auto-tune and sing
You're
that
not
fucking
nothing.
song.
Hey
Put
guys.
that
You're not
in
nothing.
Your auto-tune.
So, I mean, I guess you can always depend on something happening when there's Angela around and she's attacking him for, because according to her, his art is not to her liking. And so she's saying it is empirically bad, which is empirically a bad take on things. Art is art, music is music, and if you don't like it, you don't like it, it's fine. But to say that empirically it's wrong, I mean, clearly he's successful, or I think he is. He claims to be successful. That means that, you know, there's enough people that like his music. It's fine. It's not for you, Angela. It's fine.
You know
Of
what?
course he is.
Like
he's a star. He's a powerhouse.
Sean, if
Why
you
don't he
ask
tell
me a
you
question,
how
you
he
have
got
to
to
shut
be on
that
the
pig
show?
off so that you
Tell-
can hear me.
Why
You
don't
cannot
you
be
shut
talking
me
rubbish and you
up,
just keep me
bitch?
here.
Hold up.
You lie
Hey,
every time you
hey,
open your
Usman
mouth.
and Angela.
You like my new people? Hold on, Sean, please.
I mean, it's really, if this was the only time that we saw Angela bullying someone verbally, we would say, well, you know, I guess she's really triggered by Usman. And I don't know what's people's take on Usman. Do people hate him or not? Maybe people are neutral about him. I mean, Lisa certainly had her problems. I mean, it's interesting to see Usman and Lisa and Michael and Angela, and it's almost like Michael and Angela were a more exaggerated version of Lisa and Usman. in that both Lisa and Angela were easily hurt and would convert that hurt into hostility and abuse, verbal abuse, emotional abuse. But given the fact that we've seen Angela in so many contexts be a bully and emotionally abusive, this is hard to watch, again, because this is reminding me of all the times that she treats Michael in an abusive manner and how she just won't be quiet. It's like they're there to have this, banter back and forth between her and Usman, and she is, "You're a scammer. I hate you. You're ruining the world. Your music is terrible." It's like, okay, you got it off your chest, Angela, and now Usman's trying to respond to Sean's question. Sean and Usman are trying to have a conversation, and Angela is just continually inserting herself in that. And so we have a conceptualization of that. My ongoing conceptual, I don't know if it's true. I'd have to ask Angela. So it's, complete speculation, but one conceptualization I have is that for Angela, she has traumas around humiliation. And humiliation is an interesting concept. When we're 10, we can imagine being humiliated, like someone trips you in the cafeteria and your food tray goes everywhere and everyone laughs at you. It's an obvious sort of classic example of humiliation trauma. But you can be humiliated in your family in very subtle ways, like you're the black sheep of the family. Your parents don't pay attention to you very much, and you're frequently wanting attention and being humiliated, at least internally, by the fact that they're not paying attention to you. Or abuse, sexual, physical abuse can feel humiliating. You're pushing someone down, or you're doing things to someone sexually that it can feel humiliating to the person, obviously. And that can be coded trauma-wise as a humiliation trauma. And there are different directions one can go, but one of the results of that is that you develop a schema that you are foolish, that there's something inherently humiliating about who you are. It's not just these moments, it's actually inherent up to the core of your identity that you are a foolish person. There's something wrong with you. And there are different ways of reacting to that. Once that schema has been developed in the personality, there are different ways of dealing with it. One of which is to overcompensate by making sure that no one ever, 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 ever humiliates you. And one of the ways that you can facilitate that is to always be bullying other people and trying to humiliate them before they humiliate you. Now, of course, as with all these defenses, it eventually you overcompensate so far it comes back around, and now you're humiliating yourself by trying not to be humiliated. If Angela just was quiet and said, "Well, I think you're ridiculous," and just let that be, then it'd just be her opinion. But this constant attempt at trying to overpower everyone to avoid being humiliated and overpowered makes her look foolish and powerless over her own problems. So that's one conceptualization that I don't know if it's true. I'd have to ask her. Another possibility is that she considers part of her worth in being, how do I say this? Shocking is one way. Obnoxious is another. Because even when she's calm, she seems to lean into the grotesqueness of life, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that she might, in this context, because the other thing we have to think about when people are on the show is that we're not just watching someone live their life. We're watching them while they know they're being filmed, and there's producers and editors involved in what's happening. And it's possible that Angela, not on the reality TV show, is a nicer person or a worse person. It's just hard to tell, but it's possible that she knows that her role is to mix it up, and she is desperate to please these people, not just for the money that's associated with it, but the fame or just even the approval. I could absolutely imagine Angela really wanting Sean's approval, really wanting the producer's approval, and she knows that she's there to really make something fantastical happen, and by yelling at Usman and by bullying him, she feels like she's pleasing someone else, which would point to trauma in her childhood, Angela, that maybe that was a role she played in her family, and she was, not always, of course, but sometimes the Angelas of the world were bonded, say, with their mom against their dad, or dad against mom. And they were encouraged by one parent to blast the other parent. And maybe Angela has some of that in her history. I mean, that's really a long shot, but anyway, it's hard to watch her do this, even though I'm sure Usman will recover.
Make my new country, because I love Nigeria, have to pay for shit that people like you do,
Hey,
to people that want to come.
Angela.
You wanted to benefit yourself. You
Hey,
wanted
listen,
to fucking get
listen.
where you're at today.
You know your
remember
problem?
That.
You so dumb. Listen
I
to
don't
somebody.
remember
When you
your
talk your
name.
nonsense,
You
allow me to
remember
talk.
That, Usman. You know, I know.
There's a comedic element to this, of course, but past a certain point, it's just like, ugh. And you just know that Michael experiences this all the time, and you know that Michael knows of nothing else to do aside from say, I'm sorry, please stop doing that to me. There's no way out of this loop. So it's upsetting. All right, well, that does it for that episode. If you haven't become a patron of the podcast yet, you can do so now by clicking the link below or just going to patreon.com. When you become a patron of the podcast, that's how we know you like what we're doing. It's a active encouragement for us to keep going. So thank y'all to everyone who has already done that. And if you haven't done it and you want to do it, you can do it now. If not, totally cool. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.